welcome. I'd like to call to order the Selectmen's meeting of Monday, July 29th, 2024. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda is public input. Is there any public input?
You would indulge me.
Mr. Pike?
Traveling around town, it becomes really obvious that most of our guardrails are basically useless and need to be replaced or repaired. Some of which are actually of an illegal type now that causes a car to flip over, which actually did happen a couple of years ago in the snowstorm at the foot of Ham Hill. I would suggest, and I'm sure the CIP committee would love it, if maybe the selectmen brought a capital reserve fund response to in the future start working some on guardrails. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, take your suggestion under advisement. Thank you. Any other public input? Okay. All right, seeing none, I will go to the approval of the minutes. We have approval of minutes from July 8th.
I'll move the approval of the minutes from July 8th.
I will second. Any corrections?
Only spelling,
Okay.
egregious, in that I saw.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, and we have non-public minutes from July 15th. I assume we've all had a chance to read those.
Yes.
Motion to accept?
Motion to accept that, to accept the minutes.
Okay, then I'll second. That's right, it's just you and I. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as written?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And appointments. We have a 4:30 appointment with our moderator and town clerk.
Woohoo! So I'm starting?
Sure.
So we wanted to talk about elections, since we're gearing up for that. Less than 100 days now till the general election. One of the things that we have started looking at were ballot counting devices, if that would be something our town would consider. I polled town clerks just to get kind of feedback as to how they felt, cost, that sort of stuff. Most of the information I got says the initial expense for a ballot counting machine would be $7,500 that obviously the town would have to purchase. And then annual expenses depend on the number of elections. That can range between $500 to $2,000. That would be printing the ballots, the programming cards, shipping, all of that stuff. Most of the towns did bring it to the voters to approve. Selectmen can approve it. So that's why we just wanted to kind of bring it out there, see if it would be even something you would be interested in considering or not. The pros are accuracy. End of election night is much easier. There's no human error. Cons, time to test ballots, and I guess a con would be the perception some people have that there were issues. We did go to observe Moultonborough's process in May. Their town election was in May, and they are using Voting Works, which is one of the new machines that's just been approved by the state. There's 2 voting machines that have been approved, and it was very quick, easy. The voter gets their ballot, they bring it up at the end, they put it in the thing, it collects it.
It scans it, and then if they make a mistake on the ballot, like say they vote for 3 when there's only 2, it will say there's an error and offer to kick it back. If the person's still there, you could mark it as void, and they could pull a new
and
ballot.
they can go back, because if that happened with us and we didn't see it because we don't look at the ballots, then their ballot just wouldn't count. So
They-
this
their vote wouldn't
gives
count.
them an opportunity to correct their ballot.
It also tends to get done a lot sooner at the end of the night. You're not hand counting as many, you're counting very few. So it tends to get done a lot quicker. I know Thornton, they have their town meeting right after voting, so it's like boom, boom, they're done. It's,
This is what the town election tally report looks like. So basically, the computer prints out this report, ballots cast, overvotes, undervotes, tallies everything up, and then any write-ins, they do have to
Sure.
to enter into
That
the
manual
computer.
actually, it's not, it scans them, so once you say, okay, that's John Smith, it will pick John Smith
Yeah,
every.
it can match
It
them
can
then.
read handwriting to some degree.
Yeah,
So it's not, you don't have, once you enter
Entirely.
it,
yeah, there's still some hand counting.
there is some hand counting, but,
Yeah.
and people, I believe, can elect to have it hand counted separate, I believe. You don't have, I'm not sure, I have to check on that. But one of the things, is if you do go to it, you can't just use it for the, like, September and November elections, it's all voting has to be done. So our
Yeah,
town
you
voting has to be done.
commit to
Why?
one way or the
The
other.
law says once you go to the machines, you have to
And
stay
how
with
much
it.
is the annual expense?
It depends on how many elections, like a year like this where we have, four
Four.
elections, it's like $2,000.
It's about
It's
$500 an election
per
if they
election.
program it.
Mhm.
It theoretically
So
is
that's
not,
every year,
That cost is every year.
so they're
Purchasing,
charging you not only the $7,500, but $500 an election.
that's for the supplies, the programming, the printing, the delivery, that sort of
if
stuff.
it
Yeah.
costs more if they program it versus if we program it. I guess it is theoretically possible to program it yourself.
And then the only other thing is regards to costs is the Secretary of State has announced a program to help with purchasing these devices. It's funded by HAVA funds. Municipalities would receive up to $3,500. So, and that's a grant that's eligible, I think, until next,
That's
2026.
for the purchase.
the Secretary of State's
Yes,
office.
it's only for the purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the purchase. So,
And you wouldn't
They would
get
put it
rid of your supervisor line or your ballot click line?
the ballot clerks would still be there because they have to check in,
Right.
get their ballot. We would not have to check them out. The town clerk would not have to check them
So
out.
it eliminates one
afterwards.
step
It
of it.
eliminates that step because they're basically feeding it into the machine. That's their
And
the
it's,
checkout process.
it seemed to be, they had fewer people working
Yep,
for essentially almost twice the voters
yep. So it was.
that we
it
have.
was- Again, it was their town election and they didn't have a lot, but it was pretty smooth. But we really, before we started pursuing anything, we kind of wanted to get your feedback,
There-
input.
There is another machine that I think they've just approved. I couldn't go and make that because it was like I had a conflict. It was down in Bedford. They just recently approved it. I think I can't remember if it might be a little bit cheaper, but there's more annual costs with
Yeah.
that because they charge like an annual fee for the software and stuff.
Yep.
Versus this particular model, if you programmed it yourself, which probably isn't a good idea, but you can program it yourself, other than the time to do it, you wouldn't need to have an ongoing cost per se. But there
Right.
is, if they do it, it's $500 an election.
Right. Otherwise, you're training somebody to
Right.
do the process.
Yeah.
Right. So that is just something we wanted to bring to you. I don't know if you want to talk about it, think about it.
So-
The largest turnout that we've ever had was,
2020, we had 1,900,
yeah, so it's 1,800
Voter.
or 1,900
Yep.
voters.
and we were counting until 11 or 11:45. I can't remember which one.
But I think you've had trouble with your moderators getting enough counters.
Mhm.
But you only need like 2 counters or
To
2
do
or
the
3
hand
counters
count,
with the
yeah.
machine, because you're counting
Yeah,
very
I
few.
appreciate the, the notion of machines is a wonderful thing, but
Mhm.
personally, I still remember the Italian space lasers and the ghost of Hugo Chavez. I think the only way to have an actual count is to hand count. We have 1,900 voters. We had 2,000 voters.
We have almost 2,100.
voters, but.
Oh, I see what you're
On
saying.
the
Not a
checklist.
2,100 vote turnout ever.
No.
So, I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
If you wanna bring a warrant article forward, have at it, but it'll be tough to get my vote.
Same, I can't support
Mhm.
a machine
That's
For-
fine, that's
for-
why we wanted to ask.
for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have little to no appetite for going to machine.
Okay.
So to go with that too, next year, they just passed a law saying we have to have an accessible voting tablet.
Yeah, it's the same tablet that we use for our federal elections. It's a little tablet. They send it to us with the ballot. You can go in and actually vote on that. There's a headphone so you can listen to it if you are impaired visually. You can enter everything on the tablet, and then it prints out, and then you submit
ballot.
that as a ballot. So they now are requiring it to be for our town elections as well.
Is this an ADA compliance issue?
Yes. Originally it was, they
Well,
did it
that's how it
federally,
initially
they did
started,
it,
yeah.
they told the state they did do it for federal elections. What has happened, and this is why I don't think you can claim it's a 28A violation of unfunded mandate, it's actually a federal ADA compliance, because they went, the Department of Justice, EEOC went after Concord, Concord bought their own, a couple places bought their own. Next year, I believe for 6 months is a program we can borrow the states,
Right.
ones that they give us for the federal elections, for our election in March.
Yeah.
In March, they'll let
But
us use
then
theirs
for
after that.
2025, and the other question I had is, do we have to have that for the town meeting warrant
See,
articles? I don't know.
I think that's something we would need to check with the
We're
Secretary
gonna
of
check
State.
at the training and
because-
Secretary of State as to what that
I feel like
means.
that's is a yes or no ballot, and my guess is they'll have some guidance as to that.
So we can borrow one to get us through.
We can borrow
this
one for
year.
next year, for March 25 town
yeah.
election, but after that we'll have to purchase it, and hopefully it's just,
So we
it's
have
like
to
an
purchase it
iPad.
next year.
Yeah,
So I think it would be a good idea to come up with a budget.
put that in the budget,
Yeah.
yeah.
Next
Mhm.
year.
For
The
2025's budget,
2025
Yeah,
budget,
we'll
correct.
purchase it in 25, so we have it for,
26.
And it could be the
26.
Secretary of State will come up with something.
they might come up with some funds.
Or I might just say, keep the ones we give you.
That would be nice,
It
because
seems
it's the
kind of
same,
like
it's
if-
tough
why
to
they give it and
borrow,
come back, you
Yeah,
know?
it's tough to borrow.
Yeah, they're old, used,
Yeah.
outdated, sure,
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah, you
We're
can
not
have
gonna
it.
end up buying one next year.
Well, we
anyway.
Yeah,
have
probably will end
printers. Yeah, the printer that we have, the state gave us, and we just use that. So that. Do you want to move on to elections?
So
Or
yes,
anything else there?
elections, September, the townhouse. We need 14 booths for that. But for November, it's a presidential general election. We need to have 21 booths for that. And
Which is based on the number of people on our checklist.
on our checklist of voters we have 2,060
Yeah.
registered voters.
And we also feel, I had a couple of complaints at the presidential primary about parking. So we're concerned about this space being used there. So are looking at using the school for the general election. They are closed for that day because there are other towns that also, do their elections there. So just, you actually as selectmen are the
Are
ones
responsible
who
for that.
determine where where we are voting. So that's just wanted
Well,
to.
we can certainly vote once you've found the location.
Well,
I think we have to approve it, we don't have to go find it.
no, you don't have to find it, but you approve it. So we're suggesting
It's ultimately, I guess the point is ultimately your
decision.
decision,
We had it at the
responsibility.
school during
During
COVID.
COVID.
Is there,
Yeah.
what's it, I mean, are there any downsides to having it at the school?
For me, yes, but basically we can't get in there until the afternoon prior to set up, so it just,
It's
So it's more just
set up
logistics, is there,
it's
do they charge us a
logistics.
fee?
for setting up the chairs and stuff and setting up everything takes, we
It's
can't do
just
it the
the
day
time.
before during,
Right,
But no, they don't charge us.
because they're in
a fee.
school.
Yeah, we have to wait till school's out, and at the end of the night, we have to have everything packed up and out of there, so that's the only thing, but if we're prepared, you know, we can,
I mean, it's,
Get people.
so that it basically becomes the setup, breakdown versus parking.
yeah, and
And
space.
space, because we
Yeah.
need to have 21 booths, and we can have some tables to make up that 21.
Yeah.
Unless you ask for a waiver from the Secretary of State and Attorney General saying we don't have the space to do
Mhm.
one,
Uh,
So how
21
many
booths.
Do we usually have up
We
here?
have, there's 15 of the regular booths.
Do we own those?
Two table,
Do we own those?
we do, we own those.
And then there's two big booths.
There's two, the big booth, the accessible booth, and then there's two table
So that makes
with
18.
the table screen, so that's 18. You know, the other possibility would be to buy another set of 5 that you could maybe squeeze it onto the wall as you come in, but again, it's
Space issue.
space,
Space issue.
parking,
They're supposed to be
number of
6
people.
feet from anybody that hasn't gone through the line,
yeah.
got their ballot.
Right, so that at the entrance is not reasonable.
And they
Yeah.
do come and look to make sure that you're
Oh,
compliant.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, they do.
come with their checklist to
Yeah.
make sure we've
Well,
done
it sounds like we
everything
may
correct.
already, that may be the answer
Yeah.
regardless. I mean,
Even if we don't, I don't know how many more booths we have, we can use tables with
Yeah.
screens
Mhm.
to make up the difference,
Which is what
up
we
to
did.
50%.
We did previously. Mm-hmm.
We can have up, so we can add, so if we only have, 16 booths, say, or 15 booths, we can have add-on tables with screens to make
Mhm.
up the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I would, bringing it back to the parking, are we talking about one person, are we talking about 5, are we talking about a lot, like,
Oh, a handful of people.
yeah, so
You
that,
know, it's
I
not
don't
like
think that's gonna
everyone.
be our driver.
No,
Me
no, no.
Personally, I don't think that should be our driver.
Yeah.
It is challenging though, the parking up there. I mean, it's, how many don't say it though too, you know what I mean? I just know we've had some issues up there with tightness and, but,
So what's your recommendation
the school,
for the
for the
November
presidential,
presidential election
general election, which
General
has
election.
presidential voting too.
and the townhouse for the
For the
September?
townhouse
Sep-
for September,
yeah.
yeah. You should be fine there. Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion to accept their recommendation for locations.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. What else? Let's see. Booths. Responsibilities.
I don't know if anybody's seen these before.
Who's doing the Facebook thing right now?
I am.
Okay, could you put a post out there for where
This is
those-
from the,
those
oh, wait a minute, did I give somebody 2 one pages?
No.
Yes, I did, right there. You got 2 pages. There we go.
Oh, okay.
This just goes through it. One of the things they talk about is a continuity of operations plan. I don't know if we've ever done that before. It's in case like we can't use the place that we're voting, either something that comes up just immediately or during it.
Mhm.
I don't know if we had one before.
Where is that now? I'm sorry.
That's the one,
about
two,
fifth
three,
one
four,
down.
fifth one down. Yeah, and they have one in the book, an idea of what you should be talking about. Like if there's no power, well, we've got a generator now, but we have gone without power there before.
Is there any reason, can you use alternate location if you need to?
Yes,
We
Mhm.
have.
So we have an alternate.
So we have-
location.
but they're talking about if something happens, like immediately, how would you?
During the election?
And sometimes during, they talked about if there was some sort of a event that happened during it that would, if the heat went out, for example, and we couldn't get it started again, we'd have to go someplace else. That's just something if it is a federal election, I know the schools are closed. I mean, so that might be something to think about as a second option. Of course, if we're at the school and we have
We're
to
at
move,
school,
that's,
then we have, this as an option.
we have to come over here, but, oh, the other
Is the
thing,
fire department an option?
fire department could be an option, that'd be,
Mhm.
if we could,
Clear out the
But
bays?
then we
Yeah, you
have
just
to
have to empty
clear.
out the bays, right?
Mhm.
accept it, well, September shouldn't be a problem, November might be a little chilly to put the vehicles out, and February, if we have the next presidential could be another issue, but, the other thing is the inspectors, there were none appointed.
Yeah, I don't really think it's
But the-
critical, but,
The parties usually.
the parties have appointed Democrats, and we've already received those. I got a notice from the Republican Party that we could get the names if we wanted, so I asked them, and they said, "Oh, we don't have anybody appointed for the Republicans."
Technically, by the law, it says by July 15th, they're supposed to
Yeah.
do this, and if not, you're supposed to pick them. And,
But basically, the inspectors are really the ballot clerks.
so they're the same people.
So it's the same
You just
people.
have to make sure you have a even balance of
Yes.
both.
So
thing.
we do currently have 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans as ballot clerks. Again, one of the recommendations for a presidential primary is that we have 3 check-in stations for every 600 voters. So we only have 2. I would recommend doing 3 for the presidential primary because it'll probably be more than 1,900 voters like we had the last time for the presidential
So you need 2
election.
more clerks?
Yep, so another Democrat and another Republican.
But they've named 3 Democrats.
They named 3 Democrats.
So you need a Republican.
Yeah, we need another Republican. I actually have a suggestion of somebody who has helped as a ballot clerk previously that we could ask as well. So, but technically, I guess you're supposed to name the inspectors if they haven't.
If they haven't named them
but,
by the 15th.
I don't know if we've ever gone to that, you
No.
know, done that before, but I think we're,
No.
so, and then, the last thing I think is the ballot counting, is that,
Well, one of the things it talks about, and I never realized this till I was looking at the election manual and the laws and the Constitution for New Hampshire, the selectmen are supposed to be there from start to end of the ballot being sealed. You're responsible for signing it at the end,
All 3 or?
all 3.
All 3.
Where does it say all 3?
It says that in Part 2, Article 32 of the New Hampshire Constitution, and it says in the Election Procedure Manual. However, you can appoint a selectman pro tem. So it says, actually, the form actually says selectman or designee. So, I mean, there's something to think about if you're not gonna be for part of it. You could have
like one
somebody,
of the ballot counters,
Yeah, can
who
do
are
something like
going
that.
to be there, just somebody else to sign.
and then,
Yeah, because you can't,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're dealing with a federal election here, but this is for all elections. And the selectman who's running for office that.
well, there's limitations on that,
Yeah.
obviously.
Right,
Can't
you
be
can't be.
counting, can't be
Right.
doing that, but,
Yeah. So
but
you
yes,
have
for the
a pro
federal
tem
or,
person,
yeah.
somebody who you assign for that, or
Typically,
the moderator assigns.
typically we've had one volunteer selectman who's
Right.
stayed. to
state,
the
but
end.
technically,
Right.
if you read the law and the Constitution, they're supposed to all be, or they're designee, they're pro tem. It says they have, so, and it's one that, you get to pick your own pro tem, if you will. So you don't, if you are absent, the others don't vote on it like if you'd resigned. You would pick, oh, I want so-and-so to be my pro tem. And if they're not already an election official, they have to be sworn in to do the duties of election, which
So
is to oversee
a ballot
it,
counter
basically.
who is going to be
Yeah,
there.
then they'd already taken their oath. But, and to go with that, if,
Or what?
or what?
Yeah, I mean, the election.
Or I appoint somebody, as a moderator appoint somebody
Yeah, I mean.
to be your representative to do what you would be doing, so.
Which is sitting and waiting.
Or help counting to make it go faster too.
So that's, another thing is it does say that they can participate in ballot counting, so if you're willing,
Te-
you've been ballot counting, so if you're willing
Yeah.
to help with that
Yeah.
on that night. and then you're gonna be there waiting, so you can be counting ballots.
I'll be there, but I can't count ballots, not
Yeah.
this election.
Well, you can for the general.
The general
The
election.
general.
Yeah,
Not
not,
March.
not for the
Not
town
March.
election, you would not be able to.
Right.
Right.
Mhm. Yep.
Those are I guess, the things we're looking at and seeing where we're at. I know, from what I know, going back to the machines, I mean, I think it's a big time saver from what I've seen. It saves a lot of time, gets it done a lot faster, people are done sooner with less errors, but,
I
and,
don't think there's an appetite for that right now,
yeah, well,
No, and I mean,
Well, you can present this case.
that's,
you know better than I don't think there's been much error.
no, but it takes forever. I
It
mean,
just-
we've been
it's the
after
time.
midnight.
It's the
We've been
time that it
after
takes.
midnight at times,
Mhm.
and it makes, you know,
And they do
they've
say it's
announced
more
people before we
efficient,
turn
it's
in our
more-
results.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've announced the effects.
I mean, you don't have to get it all done in one night.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
You can extend until the next day. You can take a recess, you can keep this thing open for 24 hours. Doesn't have to be done. I
Well,
mean,
I don't know about that.
yeah.
Well, the people who
I-
never have it, you're not gonna get the people to come, the counters to come back for a second day.
No, mm-mm.
The-
They want results at the end of the
Yeah,
night. They want.
exactly.
and that means you have to
total.
come back too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's unrealistic to
Yeah.
extend.
Get more counters. That's the
We
secret.
do have a list, so that's why we're saying, oh, you guys could help count.
We can have
So.
counters.
Yeah, I don't mind helping count.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and if we need more
There anyways.
people,
We'll just train them.
It's a nice
yeah,
way to,
it's really not rocket science.
it's a nice way to participate in local government.
It is.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
It just takes a little. Well, I'm still learning it too, but reading about the blue seals and the red
Oh, yes.
seals, and
Yep.
got to separate them out, and what goes in the sealed boxes, what doesn't, and making sure that there's a list of who has access.
Mhm.
The kind of like evidence.
Illegal aliens get their ballots, I don't care.
Funny you mention that, because I did have a question about limited English proficiency. Do those machines from the state deal with that?
I don't believe there's
Probably
a
charge them
second
every
language.
$500 an election to add that to their
Yeah,
program.
I
That
don't
seems-
know if our demographics have, I know there are some Spanish speaking people here in town, but I don't know if it would be
Yeah. Well, it takes one.
a major, yeah.
Saying I can't speak the English very
Right.
well, and you got issues. But anyway,
Well, like Chip said, if you wanna push the voting machine, you can create your own warrant article, get signatures and bring it forward, but this board, I don't think this board's gonna do it.
I get it.
No.
Anything else?
You ready for September's election?
I hope so. I'm just
We have
waiting for
candidates everything?
I'm waiting for the ballot, the sample ballot.
and the training coming up on the laws, I think that's where they'll give out the new books on the
Yep, election
procedure.
procedure.
That's what I've seen
Mhm.
come out.
They were broken before, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, they
every
have to
every
wait
2 years they do a new
because they have to wait for the
manual.
laws to,
That's what I'm
Because all
saying.
the
because they
laws
just
change.
signed one about the machines, the accessible
Right.
tablets. So I guess that's it.
All good?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Thanks for taking the time.
Higher. Hey, guys.
I don't think you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Point taken.
Assume that you have a copy.
I read that
Awesome.
front to back.
There we go.
Yeah, just have to find it.
Do you have any questions? Or
No, I mean, I read the first few pages, I read the last few pages, all the stuff in the middle is all up to
all
you guys
there?
to
So,
figure out.
when you get to the last page, I think,
Mm-hmm.
or next to the last page, the sales contract, I think we've all read that on the fire engine.
Yes.
Is there a lease I mean, they're getting paid 100% of the money.
None of that comes until you get everything in place and we actually go for money as far as the whole thing. You'll have a lease.
I thought that we sent them money.
So we applied for the contract. They had to get our town financials to make sure we qualify for everything.
And there was some other stuff that wasn't online that had to be provided, which was. So we're just waiting for that now. But you will, just like in the past, there is a whole contract as far as lease-wise that you would be signing before anything goes anywhere with
Because what we
with that.
got was just the purchase and sale, what you buy.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yep. Yep.
As soon as the finance company provides that lease agreement, we'll get it back.
Get a 20-year warranty on the furniture, you'll get 2 years on the transmission.
Right.
Change it. Analysis.
So you're all set with us going through and initialing the 134 different things, and
Yeah.
you just signing at the
Yes.
end.
Flying out to.
Yeah.
Are they gonna deliver it or you flying
So
out?
There's-
two
there's
go
two
out
different
for a
things.
pre-construction conference and 3 go out for the final inspection.
And then they'll deliver it to the fire station.
They drive it out.
Yeah.
It gives them a chance to break it in
Break
and
it
make
in.
sure there's no issues under their insurance and
Yeah, I saw that, and it's actually on their insurance until it gets to
Correct.
us, and then
Correct.
it comes into
yeah,
ours.
which is huge.
Because trucks have had accidents.
Well, did I see that
Chichester.
the max
Chichester.
speed is like 68 miles
Yes.
an hour?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're gonna drive from there to here
Yes.
at
Yep.
60 miles.
68.
Yeah.
But Chichester's a local example. During their delivery, the
Wow.
dealer had an act. Well, it was somebody else's fault, but they struck the engine and it totaled it before it made it to town.
Right.
Wow.
That's on them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
except
why.
we don't have an engine for
Right.
Correct,
for-
but it's not
for
on. It
another
wouldn't be on
2
our
years.
insurance. It's on theirs.
Yeah, wow. And
Does he need a motion for us to?
Yeah, I think, well, we've already agreed to buy it. It, the price of the fire engine is the same that we have already agreed upon, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And we've already agreed upon, I don't think we need a motion.
Oh, he asked about initialing things, so
There's the last page has to be signed by all 3 of you.
Right.
The initials, all the yellow flags, we can take care of.
I'll make a motion to sign the contract, that the selectmen sign the contract, and, a representative from the fire department will take care of initialing
components.
all the components to make sure that they're up to their
I'll second.
expectations. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And there are 3 signature spaces.
While he's signing, your medical collections line is over budget.
Yes.
What's happening?
Well, we reduced it as far as, because in the past, we've never used it up. However, one thing that I wasn't aware of, this was the year that we need to get recertified, and that was like $800 and something to do that with the government and all that stuff.
Oh, so
That's what
close.
threw it over. So that's something that's every like 5 years.
And do you increase your staffing in the summer for paramedics or whatever?
We don't necessarily increase. We've been trying to cover as much as that we can as far as it goes. As far as on weekends and things like that, where we don't always have personnel in-house on the weekends.
I mean, it seems like it must be busier.
It is, but we have what personnel that we have as far as to work with.
Did I see in there that you have 2 candidates coming in?
For-
Or I jumped the
For
gun.
call.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
no, that's fine. And that's 2 more people that we're looking to put on the call department that we didn't have before.
But you're
One,
looking for year round,
Correct.
you don't do
Correct.
seasonal.
Correct.
right,
And these are both, what did I say, both EMTs, but not, one's a firefighter and one's not?
One's an EMT and a firefighter, one's a paramedic that's
Oh.
enrolled in the firefighter program.
I see, okay.
So,
And paramedic is higher than an EMT, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
by two
levels.
two levels, which is good as far as,
They can put stitches in and take.
They could administer a lot more cardiac medicine, pain, narcotics for pain management, things like that.
Is all budgeted.
yeah, it's all, that would all be covered under our call people as far as it goes. And then, you know, after this year goes through, we'll see how well our budgeting went, obviously, for the year. We've been trying to cover,
It seems like it's going okay.
yeah, overall, it seems like that we've done pretty well. We've had a couple times that we've been kind of low on people as far as different things, but overall, we've covered everything as far as that's come at us.
Yeah, I mean, considering how many more calls we've had this year, the fact that you've pretty much stayed on budget is pretty.
And is Stewart's gonna be on next year as well?
So down here, further in the report, Stewart's is going to be leasing the Melvin garage for 5 years, and that's where they're
So
putting
they're actually
the
closer.
yes, that's where they're putting the displaced crew that was in the Molten Borough station,
That's
and putting them into there. Those are
Where's the fire engines there going?
this is the Melvin garage.
Oh, the
garage.
They're
The golf.
leasing that from
I gotta check.
from Melvin Marina, who owns
So,
the property now.
How much does that cut our response time?
It depends on if the ambulance is in there or not. When
If it's,
the-
assuming it's there.
Yeah, it's not dedicated to us
No, no, I understand, but
but-
assuming
I
this.
mean-
significantly,
It could be significant.
because currently the two ambulances are either coming from the Molten Borough Public Safety Building
Or
or
Wolfboro.
downtown Wolfboro.
And are they housing people there?
Yes,
And that's all
yes.
run through Jack and all
Yeah.
that? Okay, good.
Yeah, they've been doing
No,
work
we're-
down there. Matt bought it, he's been putting a lot of work into it.
They have
I think it's great.
done everything as far as that we've required from it.
Mhm.
Unlike the fire stations, they don't have to have a sprinkler system there, but they do need firewalls and all that different stuff, and it's all been
Yeah, I
and
just
taken
know
care
it's
of.
set up for residential use, that's all.
yeah. That they have to meet all the requirements to put
Right.
two, and they only can sleep two people there as far as that building, unless they change it over.
So Stewart's actually has two vehicles?
They had two vehicles in the Molten Borough Central Station with two crews. One of them was displaced when they went 24 hours with their own personnel.
Okay, so they're gonna keep
'Cause
one
they-
in Molten Borough?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
So there'll be one ambulance at this.
at that. One ambulance and one crew, and that's all that they can
Gotcha.
legally do there.
Well, they can do wheel ambulance.
And as you can see with the doors, there's obviously they put a man door
Yeah.
in that's affixed. It's not
That
an
door
actual
is-
door.
right.
That
That's
is
a
where
wall
they're
now.
gonna have the people on the other side of that.
Okay.
And then there's a wall in the center that separates the
Yeah,
that- ambulance from
it looks
the
like
crew.
2 bays, but it's only one.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
finished
one
off.
active
Okay,
bay.
alright. Cool.
And then there's a 2-hour rated wall on this side of the quarters to separate it from the rest of the building also.
Excellent.
So that was much easier than trying to put them in a fire station, put sprinkler systems, try to come up with how we were gonna do that
Right.
type of thing, so. So ambulance, 5-year contract. We had submitted a warden's service bill, which to the town administrator for yours and the treasurer's signature. I think that would probably be in the things to sign
Yeah,
down the line.
on the list.
And we already covered the fire engine. Hurlbut Way, through couple different things where Chris has been working these natural disasters. They found that Hurlbut Way has been named a couple different things, depending on the source. It was way, road, or drive. And the street sign itself says road. We agree with Jack, obviously the code enforcement officer, that it should be way, but we're looking for your input on that whole thing.
That's a public safety issue, and I would take your recommendation.
Okay.
So the tax property card and the 911 map both show way. There's a bunch of discrepancies
So it's just a
outside of that.
sign
So it's gonna need a new street sign that says
Yeah,
way.
way.
The existing sign that says Hurlburt Road is pretty beaten, worn, tattered to begin with, so it's probably due anyway, but
I don't think we need a vote. Audrey, would you direct the road agent to replace that sign?
Sure.
Thank you, please.
To weigh.
The large rocks that are at Pier 19, they look really
Look great.
good as far as it goes. It was brought to our attention, some of the guys that went out on a boat call the other night, when they were coming back, apparently some of the boards on the side are coming loose. They might need a little bit bigger screws holding them in, and some of the new boards on the top are kind of
So
pulling
this is
through.
just on the end piece?
Yeah, on the end pieces, and I guess some of the top pieces are the screws maybe pulling through whatever they're attached to,
Are you
or it might
talking-
need some longer.
You talking the walkway, or are you talking the end?
The end where our boat is.
This is the new boards?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just redecked.
It was redecked, but what's underneath it? 'Cause
Yeah.
if what's underneath it is rotten,
Right.
that's
Well, I
kinda.
think
But
that's-
I don't know who actually did the job, but you might want them to go back and
Yeah,
just.
Jack handled it. Audrey, would you ask
Yeah,
Jack
got
to
it.
address that? Thank you.
But otherwise, it's been very
No
well. as
parking
well.
issues for your fireboat or
So,
any of that?
so far, no.
And the rocks are in such a way that they're not, no hamper,
Perfect.
obviously.
No, I think they made a good finish to the whole thing.
Yes, agreed.
FEMA, as far as the getting money back as far as it goes, I'll have Chris talk about that, because every Tuesday he has been on the phone with them for whatever amount of hours. I would have never been able to put the time into being able to do that. I think that in the long run, by the time this is done, I think that the amount of money, if everything goes well, it'll probably just about pay for the amount of money that we hired him for, as far as it goes.
more
in
than
the
time
long run.
lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should cover my salary. So it's the July storm from July 9th to the 17th in 2023, so this time last year,
Yeah.
the rain events that we had. FEMA declared it a national disaster, so we're getting 75% of the costs that were expended, mostly from the road agent for road repairs,
Mhm.
covered, as well as the culvert on Sodom Road, that first one in from Middle Road that had the damage. The road was closed a couple of times when they tried to make temporary repairs. These reimbursements should cover the cost to replace that culvert 75%, as well as mitigation, which is improvements to it to mitigate it happening again. So currently the head wall on both sides are fieldstone. The mitigation will cover replacing that with concrete head wall and a wing wall to gather, collect, and distribute the water through the culvert so it doesn't undermine and erode, which is pretty much what happened to it in the first place.
Yeah.
Obviously, the town didn't budget for that 25% coverage to expend replacing it initially. I don't know where we can come up with trying to
Well, what,
assist the road agent with that.
do we have an amount?
So that's supposed to come this week, the final cost structuring from FEMA for
Okay.
what that'll be. It's probably gonna be in the 30 to 40,000 for the entire project. So it'd be 25% of that we would have to come up with at some point.
75 to 10,
So not impossible to come up with, but just to kind of give you a baseline of where we're at with the reimbursement process and what's coming, is they will be able to cover the cost of 75% of that once we're all approved for it, as well as 75%, like I said, of everything that was already spent.
Where we did run into issues is the bills that come into the town from the road agent. They're not broke out specifically, and they're really bad about wanting everything specific
I think
as far as it goes.
He's getting better. I know we've had long talks with him about
Yeah.
itemizing his bills.
And that's really what it comes down to, is FEMA's like, all right, great, here's a invoice for materials for 5 days worth of materials, but how many cubic yards went to each site that was damaged
Right.
wasn't broken down line by line on the invoice. And FEMA wants to know exactly how much went to each site. They want GPS coordinates from the start to the end and all the measurements of what was damaged, so that they can map everything and keep track of their metrics and their data as the world is going. So
is that for flood?
It affects a lot of the blue stream or blue lines where there's flood waters, and just for them to be able to map where the expenses went and so on and so forth. So it was a recommendation that going forward, we urge that the contractors that are doing work for the town can keep those bills more itemized to allow for us, because we never really know when the disasters are going to happen.
Right. So
They-
going forward,
Correct.
they're not asking for anything.
No, but that's where I've spent the last 8 months trying to help break down his invoices
Yeah.
with FEMA to figure out how much material went to each site, how much was reclaimed, how much was brought in, to allocate those expenses out of that line,
Right.
to allocate how much went to each site.
And we're gonna
It's been
lose a
tedious.
certain amount of
There are
money
some, yeah,
that we can't prove that
Right.
we spent.
because we know we fixed them, but if that road wasn't specifically noted in his invoice, they're like, we can't prove that you
So how
spent
do
money
we
on that road.
communicate that to, because they're telling us, and us telling Jim, probably, that's too much telephone even.
Yeah.
So,
And he could talk to us about it. And we
Yeah,
can
we
explain
need
it.
to-
And we have, he and the road agent and I have had some of these conversations.
okay, so I guess,
He's aware,
Mhm.
he's on board, going forward, he's gonna be
So-
doing this.
so you've already had these conversations with him?
Roughly, just kind of that, it's
Would you kind of make it a point to touch base with him maybe one more time, just to
Mhm.
make sure that he understands that? Because I feel like we'll be doing telephone if you go through us.
Yeah, and next time that we talk to him, Audrey, would you remind us to have that conversation?
Yeah, and we also have a spreadsheet going in the office of his bills and breaking it out, so preparing for budget season.
Right.
because we're also, the nor'easter in April was also just declared.
Oh,
So the time that they spent, we spent, and the law enforcement spent
right.
mitigating road closures,
Right,
removing
trees.
debris. A lot of that will also be covered. So as soon as we start getting close to wrapping this up, that's the
Start
next
that
one
one.
that we're gonna start on. FEMA won't cover snow removal, but they'll cover all the vegetative debris and all the road closures and
Right.
overtime and payroll.
Yeah.
So,
There was one of the storms that we totally missed out on as far as storm wise, because we weren't notified that there was
that was declared.
declared as far as it goes, but everyone since then
Yeah,
we've
this
gone
one, I just
through.
saw this one on the news the other day.
Yeah. So
was
that one,
declared.
we're already in the process of gathering information for that.
Good, good.
Thank you.
I think it's great
Yeah.
that you've been talking to the road agent, and Audrey, I
Mhm.
know that you've been talking to him, but I think he needs to hear it from us too.
Yeah, between the two of
Yeah.
us, we'll make sure we.
We just haven't had an opportunity to talk to you guys at all about the status of this and how far it's made it. It's been a 9-month process. We've gone through 2 different PDMGs, which is the program delivery manager that FEMA assigns to us. The first 2 I had over an 8-month period. We made little to no headway. In the last 30 days, the most recent manager, we've made leaps and bounds
So they got somebody that
with
knows what
forward
they're doing.
progress, yes. Very detail oriented, and we've made a
So
ton of
there
progress.
must be and I haven't seen
Mhm.
the clerical work you've done, there must be a list of criteria for the claim,
Correct.
which would help in creating an invoice system here.
Mhm.
So he's not gonna get paid unless his invoice are reflecting the information that's needed every time.
Really, if the road work can be broken down each line based on the road and what was done at that site, instead of one line for the day's work involving 3 different roads, and here's the material invoices for the 3 days of work. This road, this site, this much material specifically to that site kind of concept.
The other thing that we ran into, the people that do the work or did the work, they might not be there any longer, as far as, depending on how employees go and
Sure.
come, as far as it goes. So you can't go back and go, hey,
What did you
when
do?
did you do this?
Yeah.
Because obviously the road agent himself isn't hands-on with every single one of these repairs. A lot of them were assigned to different workers of his to take care of those.
No,
So
but
just-
he's putting the invoices together. He should have a pretty good clue of what went where.
Mhm.
In theory. Along with that, you probably noted FEMA needs a description of how you guys or us as the town employs the road agent, who oversees them, checks and balances. It could be in the form of a job description for that position, or something simply stated in writing that you guys oversee his work, how jobs are procured on town letterhead. I don't believe something that should come from the fire department or EMD's office, but more from your office. If that's something that you guys could help put together, that'd be huge. That's a requirement for us to be able to get the funding.
Get the funds.
Is that specific to our town, or is it more general, we use like a state model for that, do we know?
I don't know if there is a state.
I've had a road agent as long as I've been.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm
But
guessing,
as far as the job description,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's always been in question when we've applied for, state funds of
Yeah,
how
it's
the
a-
road
it's
agent.
an elected position.
Right.
I mean, I could be the road agent. I
Right.
remember when Sandy Dow was the road agent,
Right.
all he had was a pickup truck. So
right, it can, depending on how the person, that specific person does.
right, they structured how they're gonna get the work done. I mean, they can contract it all. They contract all the plowing, they can contract the whole.
But I think what they're looking for is that you guys oversee his work and authorize him and hold him accountable to perform those different tasks. So kind of that chain of command that, yes, he's elected by the townspeople, but you guys oversee what.
Ultimately, we see each invoice.
Right.
We have a wage study that was done not that long ago that has all of the job descriptions in it. I have it sitting on my desk at home. I can take a look at it and
So
see
that
what
could
there
be.
is. Former Selectman Pike?
That was my suggestion. The Thornton study does have job descriptions and who everybody reports to. Possibly that page copied onto a town letterhead would solve all the problems, but you hit the nail on the head.
Thank you. And I'm sure we have a copy of that here. You go through that and see what you can find.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second part that they're looking for was a updated copy of our procurement policy. The last page of it notes that it was approved by the board March 4th of 19, but it would be reviewed March 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a newer copy of that unless you guys do. If we don't have one that was reviewed, can we just get it again on letterhead that says this one's still in place, it is still to be reviewed, but this one is current?
I don't recall doing that, but I don't see any reason why not. And we can probably do that in pretty
Yeah,
short order.
I thought that we had done that procurement on 22, but we can do it again.
If you do, that'd be great. I just
Right.
don't have a newer copy from that.
Maybe next selectmen's meeting, Audrey?
Yeah.
Boy, your list is getting long, huh?
It
Mm.
is.
Sorry.
Good thing we have you.
We blame Chris.
Hmm?
I said we blame Chris.
That's as much as I had for that.
Alright.
Actually, Gopher wants similar things for finances.
So as far as number 3, the additional request for insurance certificate for coverage for the July 9th to July 17th, 2023. So we just need something on paper from the insurance company that we were insured. They want to make sure that none of the work that was done is insured, that your policy doesn't cover your roads and stuff like that. As
Oh,
far as it goes.
Got that too?
Or property and liability
Right.
Right.
from
Yeah, just a certificate of coverage that we were covered under that period. It could be all of 2023. It just needs at minimum to state the July 9th to the 17th period.
Okay. Audrey? thank you.
And Chris covered, as far as reimbursement, they will cover up to 5% of whatever we bring in reference to what he has done for work with the whole process. So whatever money that the town gets back, they will give the town 5% of more.
I'll include a spreadsheet of all the time that I've dedicated to this project, and they'll cover 100% of my time up to 5% of the overall reimbursement. So if they give us $100,000, we'll get up to 5% of that, 5,000 back.
Better than a poke in the eye.
Right.
Yeah.
And with all of this, it looks like these natural disasters are becoming more frequent across the nation. I don't know if it's something that we can entertain developing an expenditure account so that when these FEMA reimbursement funds come back, they go into that separate account instead of the general fund, so that when there are options for mitigation for different things, they can come from that account. Does that make sense?
It does. We started the contingency fund, or the,
I don't think the FEMA money, when it comes in, isn't gonna go directly into the general ledger. It's gonna come in as a grant.
It'll come in as a
Reimbursement.
So it's spendable this year.
I don't know.
reimbursement would go into the, back into the general fund.
It would go into the general, wouldn't it? Because it's 2023 dollars or 2023 expenditures. I would think.
That's what my take of it was, but that's
I could be
why.
wrong. I'm not saying that's wouldn't make sense to me, but I mean we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah. Just a thought
But yes, I understand.
to help with those mitigation costs, so it's not coming from that account. There was kind of money set
So
aside.
it's
So
either mitigation costs or it's reimbursements, it can't be both.
Right.
So that culvert reconstruction of the head
Mhm.
walls, that's mitigation. So how do you pay for that? If it's all going back into the general fund?
that's exactly what I'm asking.
Yeah.
But if this money went into that new account, the next time there was a disaster and there was a mitigation option, you'd have an account with federal money that we had just set aside that came back from
Yeah, I don't
money.
think I'm not sure that we can do that without a vote.
Right.
Oh, correct.
Yeah,
No, I
it
think
would have to be
it
a vote.
absolutely.
Too.
I'm just starting that conversation now that maybe when we get to town meeting,
Yeah.
that could be an option to create that account.
Yeah.
That would give a pocket of money to be able to put towards those bigger events when it happens.
That's good, that's good.
If we lose a road,
Well, yeah, no, it's, you see it on TV all the time when these big storms happen.
exactly.
These roads wash out, and the towns are just left scrambling. Trying to fill
Not
it
that
back
we
in.
have a lot of land, but we've had fires on Mount Shaw before. You bring a helicopter in for water drops, it's $50,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Stupid expensive.
No,
That
it's-
emergency fund only covers so much. If there's federal funding that we got back from something we already spent once before, an option was to be able to put it.
Well, I think it's a
into a
much bigger
coffer.
discussion, something that we're gonna have to have amongst ourselves and with the budget committee.
Right.
Just wanted to start that conversation.
And it's something that would expand upon the contingency line that we've
Mhm.
already, that we established last year.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you can just expand that line. The way it's set up, but.
Like I said, much bigger discussion.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'd
Yeah.
have a longer talk.
And I think that overall this year, hiring Chris has been very good for the town and for our department, because I would have never been able to keep up with the different stuff that we've accomplished this year. He's gone over and above,
Well,
even
he
with
should-
even with the arm injury.
He
he's-
should make 3 times his payroll. That's how we work it.
So
How is that, by the way? The show?
Great.
Yeah.
Full clearance, return to work.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow, that was pretty fast.
Yep.
Well, he
4
should-
months.
PT's an amazing thing.
It is. It wasn't fun, but it is amazing.
No, no.
Yeah, the chief and I aren't recovering at that rate.
yeah.
We just don't do it.
Any other questions,
Yeah,
concerns?
well, I've got you here and the police chief. I'm gonna take something out of the correspondence folder and just have a brief discussion. We got a letter from the state, from DOT,
Okay.
and they are entertaining having a discussion with us about making a four-way stop at Four Corners. Yeah. We'll make sure you get a copy of the letter.
Okay.
But I think we should sit down and talk about it. I'm not in favor of it personally, but maybe there's some information that we need to talk about it.
Right.
Right.
I think the four-way stop would be tough.
Sure would.
The, they're presenting to us, I think, on the next meeting, August 12th. Did I see that? Is that correct?
Then,
And he had some concrete, the gentleman presenting, said he had concrete information of like a different town that it helped in and.
okay. So the August 12th meeting, I think it would be good for all of us to be here.
Right.
Well, when we get that information in terms of times and stuff, we'll
Just
try to
let us
plan
know.
that for you. At least, maybe at least one of you.
Speaking of DOT, we followed up after their meeting with you guys with the Willow Ave and
Yeah.
the bridge.
Yeah.
We have no conflicts with their design. I know they mentioned that you were looking for maybe a larger top or a table where Willow Ave comes to Middle Road, and that they said it was going to come back to you guys for more discussion. Is there
Has there
anything?
been anything further?
I think we just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that you guys
You guys were aware
were
of it.
Yeah.
satisfied, you could
Right.
negotiate that turn.
We're making it work right now, the way it is.
Right, but
It
this
it
gonna
is,
be
it
even
is
larger.
tough as far as it goes, but it sounds like it's gonna be larger,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
gonna be
He said he
even
used
better.
a larger template than the truck.
If
Yeah,
you
they
used
used
a
a-
ladder truck,
Yeah, like
template.
42 or something
Yeah.
like that, which is because your largest is what, 30?
36,
32
yeah.
6.
Oh, 32.6. Okay. So that's a 10-foot buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If their template's right. Okay. Cool.
I mean, our truck's making, the toughest thing right now is coming from our station and
It's
making
that
the
right-hand
turn. You have to back up a little bit and go that way, but overall it's doable.
Yeah, and it would be better with this.
Correct,
solution.
yes. And the other thing was whether or not that it was going to be in the fall or in the summertime.
Yeah, I think we gave them the clue that we'd rather see it in the fall than the summer.
That makes sense.
I mean, it'll be harder on school buses,
Right.
but I think there's a lot more traffic here in the summertime than
Mhm.
there is in the fall.
Oh, there's been a lot of traffic as far as
Yeah.
a lot of activity.
And the detour wouldn't be that lengthy either.
Like 3 weeks,
Right.
3 weeks, yeah.
3 weeks out of a 3-month project.
And they can't do it half at a time.
No.
They're gonna close the road.
Right.
I see that they're replacing culverts on all of the different
Well, there's
Well,
some,
no,
main
yeah,
roads
171.
before the
it's
towering.
supposed to get paved.
They were grinding 171, so I think 171's gonna be done pretty soon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were cutting the the edge where they.
Yep.
There's a name
Where they
for it.
prepare.
I forget what they call it, but there's a name for that.
Apron?
Apron or shoulder or.
Something like that.
Taking out some of those rocks up on the hill would be nice.
Yeah, I know.
Never gonna happen.
No. It's like $1 million a mile
Right.
to do it right.
Like
It was
Pier
10 years
19.
ago. It's probably more now.
Yeah, it's probably more.
Right.
I mean, Pier 19 was done right, where they actually came in and took it down to whatever depth. And they took loads and loads of logs out of there.
The old
It-
corduroy
it's-
road.
Mhm.
It's one of the best roads around as far as that goes, that little
Sure.
section.
All right.
Nothing else?
Good.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
Have a
Thanks,
wonderful
guys.
day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So is Chris
I
next?
was just wondering.
Well, Chris is next, but Chris canceled for tonight. Something came up and he can't be
Okay.
here, so police department update 5:30.
It's gonna be a non-public.
Non-public.
Non-public. Okay,
So if you have other stuff, do it.
Well, with the transfer station off, I think
if you're okay sitting around to the end,
Nope, that's perfectly fine.
all right, then we'll move on to the consent calendar. In this week's consent calendar, we have right of burial, 2 rights of burial, don't need to mention names. A quote from Interstate Fire Protection for our annual maintenance for our new fire protection system.
And how much was that?
It's $2,000 annually, because there are 2 systems and there are 2 inspections annually. And,
So it's $4,000?
no, the total is
Total's
2, yeah, but the exact amount is,
And where, is that in government buildings? Is that what we're getting at?
no, this year we don't have the maintenance in the budget, so it's gonna come out of the remaining capital funds.
So there's some left.
So there is enough to cover this in the remaining capital funds. The capital funds, we have, what we have left. We have $2,638.33. The total proposal is $2,040, so we have enough money to cover this with a little extra in the budget. So I'd make a motion that we,
We can do them all.
do all, right.
Yeah.
So the quote from Interstate Fire Protection for the annual maintenance, a biannual State of New Hampshire Warden Services report. I don't know if you've taken a look at the Warden Services report.
Yeah.
And the Stantec landfill monitoring contract, which was on our agenda a few weeks ago, but I wanted a chance to just read it over. That's pretty boilerplate contract that we've signed before. And Alexis, the fire truck, which we already took care of the fire truck
Well, I'll make a motion that we sign the consent calendar
in its entirety.
in its entirety.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Put that back in when you're done,
yeah,
please.
because this needs signatures.
Action items. We have a letter for a cease and desist that I think you both have read.
Yep.
We have a garage door repair that's pending at the transfer station.
And do we have a cost on that?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
What, I'm not, this is the first time hearing of it. What happened?
The front recycling building door, as well as one of the loading dock doors. The recycling center door has a broken lift spring, and the rear door needed some preventative maintenance to adjust the closure.
It wasn't a
points.
damage, it was maintenance.
Yes.
Okay.
Laurent Door will order a new lift spring and return it upon receipt and come back and fix it.
Okay.
However, it's likely that these repairs will exceed what is allotted in his building maintenance budget, but I took a look at his budget already and he seems to be doing well, so I don't think there's any issue with that. Backhoe, the transfer station backhoe is gonna have to get sent out for repairs. We don't have a list of what specifically is wrong, they're waiting for a detailed report to come back. But he's expecting it to be several $1,000s in repairs, as well as a rental unit in the interim.
In the meantime.
We have a note from Phil Bennett, the architect for the police station. He's done some work on redoing the RFPs to make it presentable to our select trades around town. I think have you both read Phil's letter?
Yeah.
So I think he's doing what we asked him to do. And we also have a letter from Tyler Phillips as far as Lake Road and Melvin Wharf. He's come up with preliminary cost estimates for Lake Road and Melvin Wharf, but it's still missing a few items. Melvin Wharf, he didn't price out any retaining wall, and And Melvin Wharf, he didn't price out any dock rebuild. So these budget estimates are nice. That gives us something to start with. But
And the amounts on those, Mr. Chairman?
the budgetary cost estimate for Lake Road is $425,000, which does not contemplate the need or cost for a retaining wall on the church side. So if they come back and say that they're gonna need a retaining wall, then
Excuse me, it was,
Yeah.
actually Mr., I think you pronounced his name,
Tev.
Tev, he came in and, said since the selectmen are, considering Lake Road, that the church is also looking at the retaining wall needing work, and I don't know if, he implied that the church would be paying for that anyway, and if he talked to the engineer, they could put it in, so I don't know if there'll be much cost. So I replied to Phil and told him that, so he's gonna talk to
Tyler.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler Phillips.
So they're gonna communicate,
Yes, they're gonna communicate, but I don't think
And,
that's gonna be an additional cost to the
and
town.
Bob Tev is representing the church.
Yes,
And the cost on Melvin Wharf?
Cost on Melvin Wharf, exclusive of the dock rebuild, is $275,000. Preliminary estimates.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Johnny Burgess, a resident of Tufton Borough, is a representative for Supernova Solar, and he met with Selectman Dauphiné a week or so ago. Do you want to elaborate on your conversation?
Yeah, so essentially what they're trying to do is they're trying to get, they're trying to increase the number of charging stations significantly. And in order to do that, EV charging stations, correct. In order to do that, they also need to, because they are fully aware that there's not enough generation to cover that, they're trying to install solar wherever they can commercially. So they're not going to homeowners and saying, can you put it on your roof? What they are doing though is they're going to towns and businesses and asking them if they'd be willing to do it on roofs and so forth and so on. That includes doing what, within reason, what needs to be done on the roof to put solar up there and so forth and so on. So I explained to him that, look, we just signed a contract for this, and he seemed to think that we might be able to get that paid for by them, which their incentive is that the government's, this is all government funding. Right?
Free money.
Well, don't get me started. That's not my point. I'm giving you the information. The point is, the government is footing the bill for these charging stations and for the solar projects that are going along to get the generation in there. Which means we could potentially have the project that we're doing covered. They'd have to renegotiate the contract, but the company,
But all you're doing then is you're providing electricity for your EV charging stations.
correct.
I don't have any idea how the economics of that work, but even if we were to sublet our current proposed solar installation to that force,
Yeah.
it would eliminate any 20-year benefit on electric bills.
No, that's part of it as well.
How could it be?
I don't know that, and that's where Johnny comes in. That's where I don't claim expertise on this. But that's the general gist of it, is it might be worth bringing him in to see, because he can answer those questions. I can't answer all those questions.
I didn't read the PowerPoint, but I'm sure it would be better to talk to a person than it would be to.
Absolutely.
Would we be talking to Johnny, or would we be talking to, because when I spoke to him, it sounded like the next step was he contacts his company and they send
Somebody from Supernova. I don't know the answer. we should, I will contact him, and see how he wants to move forward.
I mean, even if we keep the solar project separate to
Yep,
do what it was supposed to do.
Yep.
We still have roofs.
yep,
We have
and
a
that's
roof
what
at-
and that's what he said too.
And we have a roof at the fire station, we have roofs everywhere. We're gonna build another roof hopefully someday at the.
Do we wanna be in the business of providing power stations to the public, charging stations?
You're not
That's-
gonna have power for free. Those.
They pay for,
Yeah, they have to pay for it.
they pay for it like you pay for gas.
Yeah, but do we wanna be in the business of providing EV power stations to the public, whether they pay for it or not? Do
I
we
don't-
wanna be in that business?
I'm not
Is
sure.
there a downside? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't fully
Because we
thought that
don't know
through.
what these guys do, they just put the panels up and walk away? Or how's it work?
I mean, this is a business that, should be, private, not public.
No, I think they're looking for real estate, public real estate to put it on.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they're looking at your store, I don't know.
They are, and that's, see, so to be clear, he didn't come to me to talk about the town. He came to me to talk about the store,
Right.
while understanding that I was a selectman and that we could also have that conversation at some other point. So, yeah, I can contact him
And
and,
everything has its pros and cons, I mean, I think the store doesn't have parking enough to really make it work, but maybe he thinks that you do. Or maybe they've
to
got
charging station.
yeah, charging stations that work a lot faster than,
Right, so that's all kind of up in the air,
yeah,
but yes.
yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's worth a conversation. What happens from that, it's hard to say.
Okay. Do you wanna work with Audrey to
I can do that.
set that up?
Schedule.
Okay.
I think he said they're putting them in at Harley Jack's.
They're doing Harley Jacks
Who's Harley Jack?
That's a
in Route 16.
Sunny Villa. Sunny Villa.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Harley Jack. Yeah.
I know it's Harley Jacks.
Everybody's showing their age, you know.
Uh, or not having been around here for as long. but-
Right.
Is there something else we need to do with this? Is there other stuff we need to sign, or is it just the one?
No, we voted to sign it, we just need to sign the interstate, maintenance agreement, then the Stantec,
Burial.
the Stantec contract, rights of burial, but we're gonna do that after the.
Okay.
After the meeting. The action items, we do have to act on these action items. We've,
Was the town council letter okay?
hold on. Oh, let me get through the folder first. We stopped at,
You did them all.
garage door repair, Phil Bennett, Tyler,
Supernova.
Supernova. So we'd be approving the letter from town council. And do we need to give Phil from Alba Architects a nod that, yes,
Mhm.
that this is the direction that we wanna go?
Let me double check with Jack once to see if he has any comments.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. So let's act on,
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the letter from town council.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Memo from the transfer station, memo from transportation, Alba Architects, you're gonna talk to Jack first. Headwater Consultants, yeah, I
You
think,
would like to know which one would be your priority?
On those two projects?
yeah.
Yeah, Lake at 425.
Why do we-
Any reason that we can't do both at the
Yeah.
same time?
$700,000 worth of dock work. Yeah, I think we should look at doing both of them,
They both need to be done.
yeah.
I think
Does he?
come warrant article time, we'd have to separate them.
Not necessarily.
Well,
It would probably be better.
I think it'd behoove us to separate them, but that's a discussion that we can have.
And we haven't even started looking for grants, et cetera, for it. So.
Right. And the solar packet from Supernova, you guys are gonna take care of that, so I think that's all we need to do. Motion's been made, seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Correspondence. State of New Hampshire, looks like Birch and Vine has applied for a off-site liquor license.
Who did?
Birch and Vine.
An off-site?
What is an offsite liquor license?
Yeah.
So they can go-
Caterer.
Oh,
So they can cater.
Okay.
It's called a caterer off-site liquor license.
Yep.
We have a note from, looks like the McDonald family, to express their gratitude to the selectmen for the work that was done at Union Wharf and how wonderful they think the dock is now. Thank you very much. NRRA, monthly report. We had talked about, having the assessor, review the Holmes property to see if there should be any changes to the, junkyard status, and, he, recommends that we make no changes currently.
Yeah.
It is as is. ZBA notice of decision, Robert and Susan McKenna applied for a variance and which was granted.
What was that for?
Grants, wasn't it?
Is that the one on Federal Corner?
It's for a variance regarding section 4.2 1V of the zoning ordinance. It doesn't list an address.
No.
But the case number 586 is on file. Anybody who's interested can open up the case and have a look at it.
Check it out.
We have a thank you note from Sari Bowie from Camp Belknap for thanking us for coming to their neighborhood community gathering in June, for representing the town. Standard dredge and fill wetlands permit application. Permit by notification and a permit by notification from the Wetlands Bureau. For public service, for trimming, doing their annual tree and brush trimming. Town administrators update.
I had to flip pages because the list I was getting from you was so long. So I sat in on my first community coalition meeting, the education lobbying group, and it was very dry and uninformative because they talked about things without actually talking about the content of what it was. So it was things that were ongoing. So that was not very helpful. I've been working with Sarah Christensen on the Tibbetts Road. She's going to type up the labels. We'll be sending out approximately 200 notices for a public hearing, I know, on the 12th to make Tibbetts Road an emergency lane, and we now have a letter from the fire chief supporting that.
I'm trying to figure out where she got 200.
I guess everyone in the Lower Beach Pond District,
Really? Okay.
because it's their district tax money that will pay for the improvements. On Wednesday, I'm meeting with the woman from New Hampshire Interlope Trust on options for health insurance, because last year at budget season, you asked about that, and I didn't really know where to go. So when I was at the NHMA conference, I reached out to health companies that I saw. So she's going to come by and talk to me about health insurance. There's a welfare case that's kind of in the works. We talked about the church already. I started looking at reviewing the revenue in MuniSmart because we'll only be a couple weeks out till we have to do the MS 434, and I want to make sure that our revenues are all clean. And you told me the BTLA letter is okay. I have not seen the letter from the assessor to BTLA, only the legal one. So when Rod comes in on Monday, I'll get a copy of that. If you see errors on minutes when I send them out early, if they're spelling or not, shoot an email back and we'll get it corrected before the meeting. That would be good. So next meeting looks like it could be pretty long with Revision Energy, the state, and a public hearing for Tibbetts Road. So I'm not sure if you want to do all of your department updates because we were pushing highway and transfer station out 2 weeks. I know.
When is is next meeting next Monday?
August 12th.
Yeah, the 12th.
I didn't get it. I thought there was some shift.
There was.
It was, and that
We
happened
skipped a
already.
week. Yeah, we skipped.
Yeah,
This is the first
Okay.
meeting of the shift.
yeah.
So
And
it's 2 weeks from here.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from now.
right. So it would be a long night. I mean, you can think about it and then give me advice. I do have a road agent.
Who would normally be coming in?
Normally, you would have the police update, code officer, Parks and Rec. Those are normally fairly short, but we have road agent and transfer station.
Yeah, that's gonna blow it out.
So the road agent said he's out on medical leave right now, and he said the first week of August, Tuftonboro Neck Road is going to be ground. So that effort is starting on the roads.
That's next week.
And the transfer station, Chris just got back from vacation and then had a family thing he had to deal with tonight. But I think he's going to have quotes for the work that he had letters on, and
Yeah, both of those are gonna blow us out.
Try to make them as efficient as possible.
I mean, I could ask the four-way stop. I could ask that to go out. I could put him out.
If he's willing to,
Yeah.
let's do that, please.
And the meeting will be at the townhouse for the public hearing.
This isn't a public hearing that he's gonna be giving us, it's just an informational.
The
Correct.
Tibbetts Road is a public
Oh,
hearing.
Tibbetts Road, okay.
Right.
Alright,
hmm
sorry, we're just
It's
on
okay. Yeah,
four corners.
I know.
Yeah,
I might-
that can be pushed out, I think.
Yeah, I do too.
I checked on Gopher money. We haven't received any yet on the wharf, and our finance policies are lacking. And she did send me a template that doesn't fully apply. I sent her the procurement policy and the what else did we have for finance? Oh, I had found an older one, which really talks about how we invest funds. And it's really more geared towards the trustees, but I was hoping she'd take it. So I may have a new policy for you to review. And
Do we want input from the trustees?
well, I won't change that policy.
Yeah, we don't get to invest funds.
Well, you
Except
do.
bank accounts.
You do, because you have that money market. Yeah. So that's what I'm working on.
Is that all?
No, I have a whole new list tonight. And I am so grateful that Ashley actually maintains a separate list every time you bring up my name, so I have also
A backup.
her bullet list, which I got to everything last month. Any questions? Anything new you want me to do?
I think we've given you enough tonight,
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
but that's why we have you, and thank you very much
Yes,
for your
thank you.
efforts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the four-way stop's gotta move.
Yep.
Because I'm not ready to, I mean, they're not looking for our approval anyway, it's a state road, they don't give a shit what we think, so. But yeah, they need to move.
Okay, I'll push
Yeah,
them out.
get it out. I mean, speaking for myself, wouldn't we be better served by having a blinking light there, 2 red and 2 yellow?
Yeah, we have tried for a decade to get a yellow and red blinking light over that street, and they just wouldn't have it.
Well, maybe we
And
can,
and that's how those stop signs happen,
right,
of getting something to go there. But, I mean, they wanna do the nuclear option of
Yeah.
four-way stop.
They're gonna- From the reading that I
I
did,
think that's gonna cause more problems than.
the reading that I did from whatever it is they sent us,
Mhm.
it sounds like, yeah, we've already kind of decided and we'll take your input, but
Yeah, and part of me is thinking, and I know I shouldn't be so jaundiced about state workers and government, is that they present an option which is obviously unpalatable, so that we will say, no, can't we just do this? And they can go back to Concord and say, there's no local support for this change. So they do nothing. You know, it's,
Do you think I could have a conversation with the chairman of the transportation committee?
it would be lovely if you did, Mark,
Yeah.
good luck, but yeah.
I mean, to Jamie's point from, whenever we discussed it last, the sound pollution, just that item alone is gonna change that corner, not, the physical change
Sure.
aside, but even the sound pollution's gonna add to that as well.
Okay, I'm good.
Unless we get all those EV stations, right?
I could picture those at the library, a few EVs.
I don't know too many EVs with Jake brakes though.
Yeah.
Or that are plowing uphill
It's
and
just
don't want to
handheld.
stop.
The only place is handheld that they use a Jake.
Yeah.
It's not up by that four corners.
Well, they use it down right in front of my
Right, but
house.
if they had stop
Oh,
signs,
yeah.
if they had stop signs there,
That's
would
what
they?
use.
If they had stop signs there, would they? That's the question.
Oh, yeah, of course they
Jake
would.
going up.
Cause they'd come over the hill and.
Oh, yeah.
Coming downhill towards the dump?
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. So, anyway. It's-
So reducing our property values.
Selectmen's updates. I don't have any since our last meeting.
The only one that I had, we've already discussed, which was the
Yeah.
supernova.
Yeah, I think I covered everything.
All right. Other business? Okay, then I'd make a motion that we go into non-public. 91A,
It's on the inside of your green folder, and you all have new calendars and budget to actual reports. There you go. That's the first one,
this is the blank.
right, so you just read that first one, 91A.
91A:3, 2A, which covers the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected has a right to a public meeting and requests that the meeting be open, in which case the request shall be granted.
Ballby, yes.
Definitely, yes.
Murray, yes. Okay,
Have a great evening, boys.
thank you for participating.
Ladies.
Nice to see you.
Always.
Thanks for playing.
Live, okay. Recorder on? Is it going to be on? Okay. make a motion to come out of non-public.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Do we
Aye.
have a roll call?
Yeah, roll call.
Murray, aye.
Duffin, aye.
I'll be aye.
Okay. Anything else that we need to discuss
Do
tonight?
you wanna seal the minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll make a
Okay.
motion to seal the minutes of the non-public.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.